Welcome back. We're here in Washington, just outside the White House. Prime Minister Modi, remember, will be meeting US President Barack Obama over a private dinner at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's well past midnight if you're there in India. But that dinner is critical and it could set the stage really for tomorrow's summit meeting between the two leaders. Let's take a look at what's on the menu, besides, of course, the fact that Mr. Modi will not be having anything to eat at the dinner.
A current of hope in this far.
The big splash in America still reverberating across screens. It is time now for the defining phase, the real meat of Prime Minister Modi's visit. His battery is fully charged by the hour-long volcano of adulation at Madison Square Garden on Sunday.
भारत के लिए एक सकारात्मक पहचान बनाने में आपकी बहुत बड़ी अहम भूमिका है.
The spotlight now shifts to Washington, D.C. Over dinner and then comprehensive bilateral talks, can Prime Minister Modi and President Obama show the people of both nations that their relationship truly will be the 21st century's defining partnership? Given their individual personalities, expectations are sky high.
I would like him to see the Prime Minister talk in terms of partnership with the United States and with other countries in fighting terrorism and the kind of terrorism we're fighting.
One of the richest and wealthiest ethnic minority groups in the country today, but very involved in civics and involved in civics not only in New York City but in Louisville, Kentucky, and I think that's something unique about the Indo-American experience that really no other ethnic group has ever experienced, I think, in such a quick way. And so we want to capitalize on that.
Modi's substantive message to the United States that India is open for business was loud and clear when he took the time out to meet global CEOs on Monday. But it will be the handshake and discussions with the US President that will truly provide shape to what potentially lies ahead. The two leaders will hold wide-ranging discussions expected to provide impetus to an already galloping strategic alliance, forge a fresh identity to counter terrorism centered around ISIS and Al-Qaeda, amplify exchanges in defense and military trade, formulate ways to realize the truly enormous trade and investment potential between both sides, and look for common solutions to festering energy security concerns. As the Obamas get set to host the Indian Prime Minister with the massive outpouring of public faith, will the massive outpouring of public faith reflect on US soil, reflect in the White House handshake? Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Welcome back. We're here in Washington. Of course, you saw that story and it really reveals the potentiality of the Indo-US relationship. But then this relationship has always had potential. Can it transform into concrete action this time? That's the big question that's being asked in Washington. More guests joining me at the moment. Samir Stewart is former World Bank staffer. He's an independent economic consultant. Also joining me, two young alumni of the University of Maryland. B.R. Prudvi and Ashwin Sabu, who's now a market research analyst himself. And they've got a special event planned for Mr. Modi when he comes to meet President Obama later this evening. Just a word, Samir, about the potentiality in terms of the economy. What is it that you believe Prime Minister Modi needs to tell President Obama to convince the Americans that India is the place to invest, that this relationship has to become a deeper economic relationship than it is today?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity, Mr. Sardesai. First of all, I'd like to just say that on behalf of all Indian Americans, if I may say so, it's really a matter of tremendous pride for Narendra Modi to have gotten the adulation and the admiration of the U.S. establishment to the extent that he has, given the past history.
Let me actually press you on that. Given what happened in Madison Square Gardens, as a young Indian American, were you thrilled with the fact that here was the Indian Prime Minister, 40 congressmen lining up all there behind him? Was that, you believe, a moment of arrival for the Indian American, a sign that the Indian Americans had finally arrived in a sense in the heart of American society?
Well, it's a start. I mean, it's a start that we are getting that sort of recognition. But really, what happens from this point on is the more important thing. Is the focus going to actually sort of result in concrete investment? Is it going to be effectively a talk fest? Hopefully not. There's a lot of as they say, umeed. There's a lot of hope that things will change with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and hopefully this is the real reset button. Forget Putin and the United States. This is the real reset button that we're all looking for.
What do I need to do to press that? What does Prime Minister Modi need to do to press that reset button? What's that one thing that will convince the Americans, who, as was suggested earlier by Dr. Inder Sahu here, is that the Americans are notoriously impatient. They want action and action quickly. What do they expect from Prime Minister Modi?
I think there needs to be some quick wins on investment.
Right.
There needs to be some quick, obviously, changes in law and changes in legislation take a little bit of time. I think, obviously, he's having a lot of meetings today with various industrialists, various businessmen. If one of those various meetings results in something significant, I think that would be the precursor of greater things to come.
Okay, so everyone is looking for that one blank check, in a sense, to be written by one corporation. But I just want to get young Indians to first talk about Prime Minister Modi yesterday at Madison Square Garden. What did that mean to you, to have the Indian Prime Minister there for the first time, in a sense, talking directly to the Indian American people? It wasn't just at the UN General Assembly this time, but I thought at Madison Square Garden, the first time the Prime Minister broke a sort of glass ceiling between the political leadership of India and the people of America, the Indian Americans. Do you believe that worked for you?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great opportunity for the engineering students, not only engineering students, the students from India who are studying masters or a greater level, a higher level degrees in US as well. This is one of the biggest opportunities for the Indian students, a greatest opportunity for them to get back to India, learn from here. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs basically. I myself wanted to become an entrepreneur basically. So this is a chance for us to step back into India, get the...
So Modi inspires you to go back to India?
Yeah.
He inspires you to go back to India?
Yeah, because, and not only that, the FD, I think that they had the CEO meetup today. If more and more companies come across in India, this is going to create a huge amount of, jobs to the students back in India.
Let me bring in Ashwin on that. Ashwin, as someone who's lived in America, did you feel yesterday a sense of pride? Did you feel a sense of pride when you heard Narendra Modi speak?
I was simply floored. I mean, just the showcase.
You were floored?
Just the showcase of mere power, actually. All the congressmen, senators, governors waiting for his arrival in the Madison Square, and the electrifying start he got the moment he entered the hall. I mean, that was an experience. I mean, he created such a wonderful experience for the entire community, which we never got to see during my span from last 7 years here. And of course, DC is willing to give a bigger welcome.
I'm told you've got a Garba going to go. You're going to organize a Garba here on the garden outside the White House.
Oh, let me start with...
Yeah, what are you going to do?
The moment Prime Minister Modi is coming to the Blair House, and when he's going for the dinner meeting with President Obama, we are here... 200 people from the University of Maryland and different Indian organizations who are doing a Garba.
You're going to do a Garba for the Prime Minister.
Yes.
You want Prime Minister and President to watch your Garba, is it?
They will.
They've agreed to watch?
They have to pass this, and they will see a big momentum here.
Okay,
they just cannot miss us.
There's a Garba before the dinner. That's the breakthrough moment. That's another breakthrough moment. How important is that? How important is Indian soft power? We're looking at young Indian students, lots of them. I was looking at figures which show the median income for Indian Americans much higher than even the Chinese, the non-Western Chinese who live here in America. Do you believe that soft power has to at one stage finally break down these walls of mistrust that exist from time to time? Let's be clear. This relationship, as we've been discussing, needs rebooting. How much will soft power help? Will that help with the Obama regime at all?
It helps. I mean, and
are we exaggerating its importance?
Arguably, slight exaggeration, but it helps. All of it helps. I mean, the Indian American community in America is poised for great things. I mean, these are young people who are now American in every sense of the word, but whose connections to India are deep. And they are in school with friends who have grown up watching Bollywood because of their friends. The Bollywood recognizes this, has its award ceremony in Florida. So all over you see this, and of course, I mean, Indian food is popular as it is all over the world. The soft power matters, but it doesn't substitute for the very hard choices that Prime Minister Modi is going to have to make as to what exact laws and legislation can he get through Rajya Sabha, not to mention that is not entirely on his side, that will really convince American businessmen that India has in fact changed.
Give me one example. Are we talking about India's standard WTO, which remains an irritant in the relationship? Are we looking at FDI and retail, which I've discussed, is another area where the Americans would like to see the Indians do more? Are we looking specifically at the civil nuclear liability laws, where again America believes that not enough progress has been made? What is it that would convince the Americans that India has changed? I come back to that question.
All of those matter. I would highlight one other, intellectual property rights, which has also been an irritant for a great deal of time and stands in the way of major trade negotiations. I mean, the United States is negotiating a trade and services agreement in Asia that does not include India. It includes Pakistan, but does not include India, because India has not been able to convince these countries, the EU and America and its other partners, that its commitment to intellectual property rights is sincere enough to protect American and European businesses entering India.
What about from the American side? Surely, it takes two sides to tango, two hands to clap. There's a feeling that America also hasn't done enough at times to reach out to India. That America doesn't walk the talk often enough when it comes to India. There's a lot of sort of, feel-good factor there, defining relationship of the 21st century, strategic partnership. But when it comes to hard brass tacks, do you believe that we need to see more from the Americans in terms of technology transfer, possibly in terms of defense, a stronger defense relationship?
I think definitely on defense and security. That's one area where I think there's a convergence amongst the two, between the two parties. But on the other hand, I think in America, contrary to what we think in terms of India, the real power is not in the hands of the government. The real power is in the hands of business and people. And that's where I emphasize, I think Modi has done a great job. I mean, it's a great time to be an Indian American. Both sides are poised. So what America needs to do is what they're doing now. They recognize India. They know India is important for the Pacific. Modi's relationship with Japan is very important for America. Afghanistan, Pakistan. So those are the issues, I think, which the Americans need to understand, and I think they are beginning to understand Indian point of view. But I come back to the original point. Ask an American, what do you think of India? Beautiful country, I love to go there, but terribly bureaucratic. Terrible, lot of red tape, lot of things. So when the businessmen start saying, like they did in China, this is a place I want to do business, that's when we would have arrived.
So you're saying the key is to break the red tapeism. Modi spoke about it yesterday. Prime Minister Modi spoke more than once in his speech at Madison Square Garden. I'm going to make it easy to do business in India. You believe that's where he's going to have to walk the talk. He's going to have to cut the red tapeism. That's what worries American business today.
Absolutely. I think in Gujarat he did it, but I come back to the point, in Gujarat he did it by the sheer dint of his personality. I think we need to think, for example, we still have a civil service, which is a remnant of the British Raj. Is our civil service civil servants, or are they our rulers? So I think all these points he has to tackle, but they're not easy to tackle. And I'm hoping that he will use the platform he has, he'll use the goodwill he's generated in India to take some actions which are difficult. And that's when it's
interesting you're using the word goodwill. It means that the last 10 years, the fact that Narendra Modi was denied a visa by this very same US establishment, all that's gone? Over?
I think
has America recognized the fact that this is a leader now on the world stage that you've got to do business with?
Absolutely. But I think the Americans are somewhat embarrassed by that episode. But like in any diverse country, different people make decisions. I think if Obama is quoted to have said, I did not know that he was denied. So as in our country, as in India, here also there are multiple layers, multiple people. I think Modi has done a great job on not to dwell on that issue. Right. He has not mentioned it. I think it's a great credit to him. That's the kind of man he has, because he's not looking at it as a personal accomplishment. I like his slogan, that this is for you. I want to work for you.
Yeah, you want to make a point there?
Yes, so I agree. And I would echo Dr. Sood's point that one of Modi's real characteristics as a statesman is that he's being willing to put that episode behind him. But that said, I mean, the bureaucratic red tape is crucial. And I think, in fact, Prime Minister Modi, by emphasizing workers being on time, bureaucrats being on time, has made that clear that he wants to do that. But labor laws, which remained a major irritant, a major obstacle, was conspicuously absent from this last set of legislation and from the most recent budget. And the trade unions and other state governments that he's going to require to cooperate on that show no signs of softening their stance.
Now you're asking Prime Minister Modi to do what no previous administration has been able to do over 60 years. You're asking him to be a magician. Reform labor laws. You know the difficulties that come with that. Surely President Obama must realize also the difficulties that Prime Minister Modi will face on the ground.
We all recognize those difficulties, but the fact is that the recognition of those difficulties is what drives American business elsewhere. And so unless that recognition, unless that perception that this cannot be fixed,
right,
it can change, it is unclear why businesses from around the world will choose India as opposed to anywhere else.
I think you're giving us a good reality check, both of you, in a sense. Let me just get one. Where are our young Indian Americans? They've just disappeared. Let me bring them back, because I think they are the ones who are. This is a good time. We're told, Ashwin, you've disappeared there to organize your Garba celebration.
In fact, we're doing it tomorrow as well.
Yeah. So there are 2 days of Garba celebrations.
It's a complete celebration. And Bhangra.
Okay, I'm now told it's Garba and Bhangra that's going to be just outside the White House, which these young Indians are going to celebrate. Today is Garba, tomorrow will be Garba
and Bhangra combined together both.
Okay, so Garba and Bhangra combined together. I just want to know, do you agree with that? This is a good moment to be an Indian American living here in America. This is a moment where Indian Americans can finally sort of express themselves.
Yes, I perfectly agree. Moreover, after yesterday's after, of course, his speech at the Madison Square, every one of us feel really way more confident of our own abilities, and that's a
he's given you a sense of self-confidence. Do you believe that this is a good moment to be an Indian American?
I think it's always been a good moment to be an Indian American. I think it's a better moment now to be an Indian, to be honest, an Indian from India, because there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of aspiration, and there's a lot of youth energy. As the Prime Minister said, 65% of India's population is below the age of 35, and that is India's real strength. And I think it's a really good time to be an Indian in India.
But are these youth now going to become, the Prime Minister spoke about the demographic dividend. He spoke about democracy, demographic dividend and demand as the 3 Ds that could drive this relationship. Do you believe that that's why this relationship is poised in a sense to be taken to another level? Because, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh shared a great relationship with President Obama. And yet there were these irritants in the relationship. Will all that change?
Well, I also think part of it is because of the overwhelming mandate that has also been given to the Prime Minister to bring about change. I think without sort of casting any aspersions on any political party or this way or the other, there is a sense of hope and optimism that has arisen from Prime Minister Modi's visit, and I think that's what's going to fuel things going forward.
That's good. So, are we all optimists?
I will add one,
a quick point.
I will add one more point to it. Actually, the brain drain part. Actually, a lot of people not moved back in spite of getting all the experience, all the mass education experience, and still not went back because of the system. So, the effective governance, if it really comes into fusion, then that will be one of the more driving force for the people.
Effective governance, that will drive you back to India. Okay, the message that's coming in from young Indians here, they've been inspired by what Narendra Modi said at Madison Square Gardens. The question is, of course, as is being suggested by our professors, there are a few reality checks. India will have to change, and change soon. The Americans are impatient. They expect India to change. Otherwise, they will find other avenues and other frontiers in which they will go and put their dollars in. If you want the dollars to come into India, India will have to change. Can Narendra Modi be that messenger of change or parivartan? He did it during the general elections. Now he's got to do it when it comes to foreign policy. So all eyes will be on the White House this evening when Prime Minister Modi has that private dinner with the Obamas. And then, of course, is the summit meeting tomorrow. All of that, of course, being tracked here on Headlines Today in Washington and New York. Narendra Modi's Mission America, as we are saying now, enters, as they call it in this part of the country, the business end of that visit. Let's see whether Modi can break a certain barrier here too, in the manner that he did in New York. That's it from Washington. As I said, on a wonderful autumn morning, the weather certainly is bracing for the two leaders as they have dinner and also a bit of Garba and Bhangra. Let's hope that we can see Obama and Narendra Modi actually do the Garba and Bhangra. That will really set this relationship on a new, in a sense, on a new, in a new dimension. Thanks very much for watching. This is live from Washington.